Racist billionaire catches homeless girl teaching his daughter. What happens next shocked everyone. Just say the word. The chalk snapped in half. The sound was small. But in that moment, it felt louder than the traffic on Hawthorne Avenue. Marcus Whitmore froze mid-step. His daughter, his brilliant, carefully protected, privately tutored daughter, was sitting on the sidewalk. Ground, next to a homeless girl. And she was laughing. Not frustrated. Not crying over another failed geometry assignment. Laughing. Dad, wait. Ava's voice rang out. Don't let her erase it. Marcus's jaw tightened. Erase what? He stepped closer, polished, shoes inches from cracked pavement. And then he saw it. A geometry proof. The exact one Ava had failed 3 times this semester. The same one he had paid 3 elite tutors, graduates of the best universities money could buy, to drill into her. And written in white, chalk beside it underscore. A simple drawing. Slices of pizza. Triangles. Angles labeled in bright, looping handwriting. The homeless girl looked up slowly. She couldn't have been older than 13. Her hoodie was faded. Her sneakers worn thin. But her posture was straight. Her eyes steady. Good afternoon, sir. Marcus didn't respond. Ava, he said, voice cold as steel. Get in the car. But Dad, she just made it make sense. Silence. The girl began to gather the chalk pieces quietly. As if she expected this. As if she was used to being dismissed. Wait, Ava said suddenly, grabbing her sleeve. Please. Just let her show you. Marcus almost refused. He should have refused. That's what the old Marcus would have done. Instead, something in his daughter's voice, something desperate, made him pause. Fine, he said sharply. Explain it. The girl knelt again. My name is Nia, sir. And then she began. Not with equations. Not with jargon. But with a story about pizza, slices at a birthday party. Within 2 minutes, Ava's eyes widened. Within 4 minutes, she solved the next step. By herself. Correctly. Marcus felt something shift. Not guilt. Not yet. But discomfort. Because for the first time all year underscore, his daughter understood. And the person who taught her was someone he would have never hired. Never trusted. Never even looked at twice. If stories like this move you, if moments like this remind you that change is possible, consider subscribing. It truly helps me keep creating stories like this for you. Because what happened next underscore didn't just change one little girl's grades. It changed a man the entire city believed would never change. Part 1A, the man everyone knew. Marcus Whitmore didn't build an empire by being soft. At 48, he owned half the skyline. Glass towers bore his name. News anchors called him visionary. Investors called him unstoppable. The comments were harsher. Clips resurfaced every few months. Interviews where his words cut just a little too sharp. Some communities lack discipline. Success is about culture. Statements carefully phrased, but never corrected. He had never publicly apologized. Never clarified. Why would he? His stock price kept climbing. His company donations bought goodwill when needed. And when protests flared outside his offices 3 years ago, He wrote a check large enough to quiet the noise. Marcus believed in winners. He believed in effort. And somewhere along the way, that belief hardened into something colder, something quieter, something easier to ignore when you lived in a penthouse overlooking the city. At home, things were different. With Ava, he was disciplined but present. He funded the best education, the best tutors, the best opportunities. Failure was not an option. So, when geometry became her weakness, he doubled down. 3 private instructors, 1 former college professor, extra study sessions. Nothing worked. And that frustrated him more than he admitted, because they fell behind. They excelled. Now, a homeless girl with sidewalk chalk had done in 5 minutes what thousands of dollars couldn't. That fact followed him all the way home. Honest, if you were in his position, powerful, protective, used to controlling outcomes, would you have judged her too? Nia Johnson learned early that invisibility could be survival. When her mother lost her teaching job after a long illness, everything unraveled quickly. Medical bills swallowed savings. Rent slipped behind. Then came the eviction notice. The shelter wasn't violent, but it wasn't home. Nia woke up before sunrise each day to make sure her mother had breakfast. Medication organized. Blankets folded neatly. Her mother still apologized. "I was supposed to give you more," she would whisper. "You gave me everything," Nia always answered. At school, before they had to leave, Nia had been top of her class. Math, especially. She didn't just solve problems. She saw them. Patterns made sense. Numbers felt like stories waiting to be told. After they left school, she kept learning anyway. Library books. Old worksheets she found online. Teaching her mom to pass the time. Teaching other kids at the shelter when homework overwhelmed them. Not for money. Just because she liked the way confusion turned into light in someone's eyes. The day she met Ava wasn't planned. She had been sitting near the academy wall, reviewing a borrowed algebra book. She heard frustration, saw tears, and asked gently, "Do you want help?" She didn't know the girl's father was Marcus Whitmore. She didn't know the weight of that name. She just saw someone struggling, and she helped, because that's what her mother taught her. If you admire quiet strength like that type respect in the comments. Because what Nia did next wouldn't just teach geometry. It would begin unraveling a belief system built over. The ride home was quieter than usual. Marcus sat in the back of the sedan, tablet open in his lap, but he hadn't turned a single page. Across from him, Ava was still buzzing. "Dad, you should have seen it before you came," she said, practically bouncing. "I was stuck for like 20 minutes and then she snapped her fingers, made it click." Marcus didn't look up. "What's her full name?" asked. Ava blinked. "Nia, I told you. I heard the first name. Apausi. I don't know her last name." Marcus finally lifted his eyes. That bothered him more than it should have. "You let strangers teach you now." But the words stayed in his throat, because the image kept replaying. Pizza slices. Clean logic. Ava solving the proof without hesitation. It didn't make sense. Back at the penthouse, Marcus did what he always did when something didn't add up. He investigated with his NR file, attendance reports, tutor noches, performance analytics. Everything pointed to the same frustrating conclusion. Ava understood the concepts. She just wasn't connecting to the way they were being taught. Marcus leaned back slowly. So 3 professionals missed this, he muttered. No one answered, because no one could. The next afternoon, Marcus told himself he was just being thorough. Nothing more. That was why the sedan slowed again near Hawthorne Academy the next day. That was why he stepped out early. That was why his eyes scanned the sidewalk before Ava even appeared. He wasn't looking for the girl. He was confirming yesterday wasn't a fluke. At least, that's what he told himself. Then he saw her. Same spot near the low brick wall. Same worn hoodie. But today, she wasn't drawing. She was reading. A thick, library-stamped math workbook balanced on her knees. Marcus watched from a distance. She wasn't distracted, wasn't fidgeting. She turned each page with careful focus, pencil moving steadily in the margins. Not pretending. Working. His jaw tightened slightly. Interesting. Ava came rushing out of the school gates. And just like yesterday, no hesitation, she ran straight toward. Hi. Ava dropped her backpack beside her. Can we do the next one? Nia looked up, surprised. You finished the homework already. Yeah, but I want to make sure I really get it. Marcus stood perfectly still, waiting, measuring, judging. The 2 girls leaned over the workbook together. Nia spoke quietly, pointing. Not rushing. Not showing off. Teaching. Patiently. Marcus expected to see guessing. Hesitation. Gaps. Instead, he saw structure. Clear thinking. Confidence. And something else. Kindness. The kind you can't fake. Halfway through the explanation, Nia paused. You try this part, she told Ava gently. Ava bit her lip, then worked through the steps. When she finished, her whole face lit up. I that. Nia smiled. Not biggie, not showy, just warm. And something inside Marcus shifted again. What happened next? No one saw coming, because for the first time in years, Marcus Whitmore walked toward someone he would normally ignore. He stopped a few feet away. The girls noticed immediately. Ava's smile widened. Dad, look, I'm getting faster. Nia straightened politely, already gathering the workbook like she expected to leave. Marcus held up a hand. Don't, he said. She froze. So did Ava. Marcus studied the page on the ground. Then the notes in the margin. Then the clean way the steps were broken down. Finally, his eyes lifted to Nia. How long did that take her to understand? Ask it. Nia hesitated. About _10 minutes today, sir. 10 minutos. Marcus exhaled slowly through his nose. 3 tutors. Months of sessions. 10 minutos. Something uncomfortable pressed against his chest. Not guilt. Not yet. But pressure. The kind that builds when certainty starts to crack. And Marcus Whitmore was a man who did not like cracks. The moment of kindness, emotional core. Marcus crossed his arms. Explain it to me, he said. Not to Ava. To Nia. There was no warmth in his voice. It wasn't curiosity. It was a teste. Ava looked nervous. Nia did not. She nodded once and turned the workbook toward him. It's not that she doesn't understand geometry, Nia said calmly. It's that she's trying to memorize it instead of seeing it. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Seeing it? Yes, sir. She flipped the page and redrew the triangle from the assignment. Then she shaded one section. If this is part of something real, she continued, your brain remembers it better. Like sharing pizza or folding paper. Marcus didn't interrupt. You're not bad at math, Nia told Ava gently. You just think you are. Ava swallowed. Marcus noticed that. He hadn't realized how much those tutoring sessions had chipped at her confidence. How do you know that? Marcus asked sharply. Nia looked up at him. Because I used to think the same thing. She didn't say it like a complaint. Just a fact. My mom always says understanding isn't about how smart you are, she added softly. It's about how safe you feel asking questions. The words hung there. Safi. Marcus felt that one land. Ava glanced up at him briefly, then looked back down. As if she wasn't sure she was allowed to struggle. And for the first time, Marcus wondered if all his pressure had built walls instead of strength. Nia erased part of the drawing and handed Ava the chalk. Okay, she said. Teach it back to me. Ava blinked. Yes, pretend I don't get it. Ava hesitated, then started explaining. She stumbled at first. Nia White. Patient. Encouraging. You're close, Nia said. What happens to this angle when the line shifts? Ava's eyes widened. Oh, it stays equal because... She corrected herself. Finished cleanly. Andeschimi. There was no doubt in her voice. Marcus felt it in his chest. That wasn't tutoring. That was empowerment. A small crowd had started forming near the school gates. Other parents waiting. Some watching. Some whispering. Marcus could feel it. The optics. The headlines, if someone snapped the wrong picture. Whitmore billionaire standing beside homeless teen. He almost stepped back. Almost retreated to safety. But then something happened that erased every calculation in his mind. Nia reached into her worn backpack. She pulled out a small notebook. The edges were bent. The cover faded. She handed it to Ava. These are tricks I wrote down, she said. In case you get stuck when I'm not here. Marcus stiffened. When you're not here? Ava asked. Nia gave a small shrug. My mom has a doctor appointment tomorrow afternoon. We might not make it. She said it casually, like it didn't matter. Like she was used to uncertainty. Ava looked crushed. Marcus noticed something else. The notebook wasn't random scribbles. It was organized. Carefu. Structured. She had prepared this for someone else's child, with no expectation of anything in return. Why would you give her that? Marcus asked. The question came out, sharper than he intended. Nia looked confused. She needs it, she answered simply. Deuterness. No calculation. Just truth. Marcus stared at her. You don't even know us. Nia's expression softened slightly. She was crying yesterday. That was it. That was the reason. Marcus felt something crack. Loudly. Not dramatically. But unmistakably. Because in his world, everything had a transaction. Value exchanged. Leverage considered. Returns calculated. But this girl had given something valuable. Knowledge. Confidence. And asked for nothing. Ava suddenly threw her arms around Nia. The hug was tight. Unfiltered. Unscripted. For a second, Nia froze, as if she wasn't used to being embraced by someone so polished, so privileged. And slowly, she hugged back. Marcus swallowed. The small crowd wasn't whispering anymore. They were watching. And for the first time in years, Marcus Whitmore didn't care how it looked. He cared about what it meant. "Where do you live?" he asked quietly. Nia hesitated. "The Oak Street shelter, sir." Marcus nodded slowly. "And your mother?" "She used to teach middle school math." "Used to." The word lingered. "Why did she stop?" Marcus asked. "She got sick," Nia answered. "They needed someone full-time. So they replaced her." Replaced. Just like that. Marcus thought about how quickly he replaced underperforming executives. How easily he labeled people liabilities. And yet here stood a girl teaching with more heart than any professional he'd hired. Because someone had once given her the chance, and then taken it away. Silence stretched between them. Heavy. Charged. The old Marcus would have ended it there, given a small nod. Walked away. Told himself this was a nice but irrelevant moment. But Ava looked up at him. Hopeful. Not demanding. Just hopeful. And something inside him shifted from discomfort to responsibility. Because prejudice had always felt abstract, distant, debatable. But this wasn't abstract. This was a child, standing in front of him, brilliant, kind, unseen. And for the first time, Marcus Whitmore realized he had been wrong about something far bigger than geometry. He cleared his throat. "Would you," he said slowly, choosing each word carefully, "be willing to show me how you break down that last proof again?" Nia blinked, surprised. "Yes, sir." And this Chimi, when she knelt on the pavement and began explaining. Marcus didn't test her. He listened, really listened. And as she spoke, the crowd faded. The city noise faded. The weight of reputation faded. Because what he was witnessing wasn't charity. It wasn't luck. It wasn't an exception. It was talent. Pure and undeniable. And talent, Marcus believed, should never be wasted. But here was the uncomfortable truth pressing against his chest. It already had been. For months, for years, maybe for generations. Nia finished explaining and looked up at him cautiously. "Does that make sense?" she asked. Marcus nodded once. Dois. His voice was quieter now, measured differently. Superior. Not dismissive. Just human. Ava squeezed his hand. And in that small gesture, something irreversible began. Did this moment change your opinion of her? Because it was about to change his life in ways no one, especially Marcus, was prepared for. The ride home was unusually quiet. Marcus Whitmore sat in the back of the car, staring out the tinted window as the city blurred past. Normally, this was when he took calls, closed deals, moved markets. Tonight, his phone lay face down beside him, untouched. Across from him, Ava hugged Nia's worn notebook to her chest like it was something fragile, something important. Marcus noticed. He noticed everything now. The way Ava kept rereading the same page. The way her shoulders seemed lighter. The way, for the first time in months, she wasn't dreading homework. It unsettled him, because the best tutors in the country had failed, and a girl with no resources had succeeded in 20 minutes. That didn't fit the narrative Marcus had built his life on. Hard work, elite access, controlled outcomes, predictable hierarchies. But today had introduced something dangerous. Doubt. Dad. Ava's voice was small but hopeful. Marcus looked up. Yes. Can Nia come again tomorrow? The question hit harder than he expected. Not because of logistics, because of what it implied. Trust, comfort, connection. Marcus adjusted his cuff slowly, a habit when he needed time to think. We'll see, he said carefully. Nauticanu. But not the easy yes Ava clearly wanted. Ava's face fell just slightly, and Marcus felt that too. Strange. When had he started noticing micro-expressions like this? When had he started? That night, Marcus stood alone in his home office. Floor-to-ceiling glass. City lights stretching endlessly below. Usually, this view grounded him, reminded him of everything he had built, everything he controlled. Tonight, it felt different. On his desk sat a thin folder his assistant had quietly prepared after the school pickup. Marcus Whitmore never moved without information. Inside was a brief profile. Nia Carter, age 14. Current residence, Oak Street Family Shelter. Mother, Denise Carter, former middle school mathematics teacher. Employment, status, terminated due to extended medical leave. Marcus's jaw tightened slightly. Terminated. Such a clean corporate word. So tidy. So detached. He flipped the page. Medical notes were partially redacted, but one line remained visible. Chronic autoimmune condition. Expensive. Long-term. Destabilizing. Marcus exhaled slowly, because suddenly the pieces weren't abstract anymore. They were painfully clear. A qualified teacher. Forstauci. A family displaced. A gifted child adapting instead of breaking. And the uncomfortable question press. Forward again. How many times had his companies made decisions just like this? Efficient, legal, profitable, and quietly devastating. Marcus closed the folder, but the image wouldn't leave. Nia kneeling on the pavement, patient, calm, giving away knowledge like it cost her nothing. While he had spent years building systems designed to protect advantage, a memory surfaced, unwelcome and sharp. Boardroom. 3 years ago. A diversity initiative proposal. Marcus had shut it down in under 2 minutes. Merit should speak for itself, he had said coldly. The room had gone quiet. No one challenged him. They never did. But tonight, For the first time Marcus wondered something deeply uncomfortable. What if Merritt had been speaking all along and he just hadn't been listening? Across the hall, Ava's bedroom light was still on. Marcus rarely checked. Tonight, he did. He paused outside the partially open door. Inside, Ava sat cross-legged on the floor, working through geometry problems. Alone, confident, focused, not frustrated, not defeated. Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. She just needed someone to make it feel safe to ask questions. Nia's voice echoed in his memory. Safi. The word followed him back down the hallway like a shadow. Back in his office, Marcus picked up his phone, scrolled, paused, then did something that would have shocked his entire executive team. He searched Oak Street Family Shelter. The photos weren't flattering. Overcrowded, underfunded, temporary by design, permanent in reality. Marcus leaned back slowly, because the problem suddenly felt bigger than one girl, bigger than one family, bigger than one uncomfortable moment outside a school gate. For years, Marcus Whitmore had believed racism was exaggerated, overstated, weaponized. But systems told quieter truths. And Marcus understood systems better than most.